Well, good morning. I think that should just about be put us on. Right. Anyway, good morning everybody, and welcome to anybody who's picking this up. Obviously you will, if you've been following Jim's Chatterbox, you'll know that things went slightly awry this morning. I've just spoken to him on the telephone and he said that it didn't set up right this morning. So he had a few problems with it, and we do get these intrusions on the live chat. Mostly when we set it up in the right way, we don't get them, but something went quite slightly awry today, but that happens. We'll see if we can get it better. Anyway, I hope everyone is doing well this morning. Obviously we're thinking very much of Michael. And I didn't know it was Brian that had dislocated his shoulder. I know that Jim had said yesterday that there was somebody who'd had a dislocation, so it was Brian. So obviously we're praying for him as well. And a number of people in our fellowships. Anyway, we're not going to be able to hear about Nehemiah, are we? We're destined not to sort of find out what Jim's thoughts are on that. So there you go. Anyway, I was talking yesterday about Esther, and so I thought I might just finish that off because again things went slightly awry yesterday, and I got cut off before I sort of got quite to the end. But as I was sort of thinking about it in the day, the wonderful thing about Esther was the way in which, as soon as she knew that there was something needing to be done, she didn't just simply rush into it. Once Mordecai had told her that Hanuman had got the king to pass this edict that would exterminate all the Jews, she didn't just simply rush into it, but what she did was to actually sort of pause and say, for 3 days, ask everyone within the Jewish communities to fast and pray. And I think that's something that we perhaps need to reflect upon, that suddenly when we're faced with a challenge, we shouldn't just simply plough into it. Sometimes you have to, like when the YouTube goes down and from Link with Garner, and you've got to sort of just jump into the hot seat. But in a way that actually made me think in terms of, am I prepared? I don't think I was yesterday. I've been used to Jim pressing the button over in Ghana and it was all working, hunky-dory. But not yesterday. It all went pear-shaped, so I had to leave me porridge halfway through. At least today I've been able to finish my porridge, so that's all right, isn't it? I like that. So I had to jump straight into it. And there are some situations where you need to jump in, but if you've been having that sort of life of prayer and walking with the Lord, then it means that when those things have to happen suddenly, then it doesn't throw you. There's a lovely passage in Matthew 11 talking about when Jesus says, "Take my yoke upon you," which is really, really a lovely picture. And it's like when the oxen are ploughing through the fields, and 2 oxen have a yoke across their necks, a sort of wooden yoke, not in any sort of hurtful sense, but just so that they can keep pace with one another. And it's a lovely picture to be yoked with the Lord, because we're keeping in step with Him. And when you're keeping in step with Him, then when you're suddenly confronted by something, then it doesn't throw you as much. I mean, there's always things that come along in life that throw us, but hopefully you've got the resources in the toolbox and being yoked to the Lord that helps you to cope with them. But we are still only human, so sometimes we have to struggle. But Esther, what she did it differently. She actually sort of said, right, let's hit the pause button. Let's just for 3 days ask everyone to fast and to pray. And then at the end of the 3 days, she invited the king and Hanuman to her banquet and began her plan. And obviously in the 3 days it helped to form that plan in her mind of what she'd do. And so she wouldn't raise the issue when he came for the first banquet. They'd just have a lovely evening. But it was on the second night, the second banquet that she threw for them, that she dropped the bombshell. But it was that fasting and prayer that everybody had to practice to prepare her for that challenge. And obviously we do pray about things, and there are things that we do need to set aside to prayer. I mean, we're praying about Grace Church, how to develop that. We're praying about the Beacon Sanctuary here, how to develop that. And it's right that you should carry on praying. Fasting is something that I've always struggled with. Fasting, I have to be honest up front about this. It's something I struggle with. There have been occasions when I have fasted, and it's trying to work out what it actually does. It's like a sort of sacrifice, I think, in some ways. You're sacrificing, instead of eating something nice, you're sitting down thinking and praying about God, giving that time to prayer. Or during Lent a few years ago, it wasn't just about sort of food that you could fast from. Raised the issue about fasting from other things. Do you watch too much telly? Have a fast from telly, or whatever. So there's all kinds of different fastings, and the idea is that it should build us up in our sort of constitutions, if you like, and able to cope with things. So that's something that fasting can do, I suppose. But I must admit, I do struggle with it a bit. There was a lovely book a few years ago, God's Chosen Fast by Ronald Sider, I think it was. And I seem to remember that was quite a good book. I ought to see if I can get a copy of it and reread it, I think. But it clearly has an effect with God. And so therefore we do need to sort of give attention to it. And Jesus, in his teaching, one of the things he said is, when you pray, go into your room, da-da-da-da-da. He didn't say if you pray, he said when you pray. And he also said the same about fasting as well. So, I don't know. That's something that is worth thinking about as well. So Esther, she's quite a lesson for us, really. And I think it's good for us to reflect upon that. Anyway, the day is beginning. I'm sure, I haven't actually got my watch with me. I haven't got a clock in here. Must do something about that. But I'm sure Jim is probably getting near to his time for going on to Facebook. So I will sign off for now and leave it for Jim to get himself sorted on the Facebook. But I hope for anybody who picks this up that you'll enjoy my thoughts, keeping up the chattering and rabbiting tradition that Jim has started. I can certainly rabbit for England as well once you press my buttons. So anyway, hope you all have a good day. I know Jim was talking about a lovely sunrise in Ghana this morning. We might see that on Facebook in a few minutes. Down here in Sussex, it's grey and drizzly. So I'm sure there's a wonderful sunrise up above the clouds. But it's the Lord's Day, so we will rejoice and be glad in it. As Anita posted in the live chat this morning. So this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. So thank you for joining me, and all being well, we'll be back with Jim tomorrow morning. Okay.